So good morning to all, and today we are seeing the basic laws of normative principles, and which is also related with means which is related with library classification, and that is called as the canon of library classification. So related terms we have already seen in the last class, like what is unitary class, then how the universe of means what will be the original universe, then what will be the multiple class, then what will be the group, and we have also seen what is the class and the characteristics also we have seen, and the what is meant by array and what is meant by chain. So all this today we are going to see the basic laws for normative principles, and these normative principles can be postulated for work in the different levels, so that different level also we can see it. So we will start our class, and these normative principles of classification have been used or recognized by the different long time, and it has proved to be highly useful also. So why you have to learn all these normative principles? Because it will be useful for, if you, now we have seen that classificationist and the classifier. So even for the classificationist, if you want to design some new scheme of library classification, then you have to see that on what basis, on what principles, or on what basis you will design the scheme of classification. And for this, it will be there is a need to study all these normative principles. Okay. So today we are only going to see the basic laws and the principles which are related with the canons or library classification, we can see after finishing this lecture. So these have proved provided a scientific base to the field of classification. So based on all these normative principles, we can scientifically say we can design the classification scheme. And for this for normative principles are very useful. And framers of classification scheme, and although classification is that is called, and the classifier have been making their use in varying the degrees. So all these normative principles they are using, even classificationist they are also using these normative principles, and the classifier also they are using these normative principles. So these principles can serve many purposes, and in the next slide we can see what are the various purpose to study the normative principles. So this can be serve as the basis for a classification scheme, for classification specifically, and leading to the scientific approach. So all these normative principles have their own logics, and they are called as a scientific, they are based on the scientific approach. And such a scheme should be designed keeping in view the guidelines provided by the normative principles. So whatever guidelines are provided by the normative principles, all these guidelines are used, or which are very helpful for preparing any or structuring any classification scheme. And these principles also helpful for a remodeling of the existing scheme also. Suppose if you want to modify the scheme, or if you want to do the remodeling of the whatever classification schemes are there, it may be the classification means colon classification by Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, or it may be the DDC by Dr. Melville Dewey, and any classification scheme. So you have to first learn what is normative principles, what are the canons for library classification. Okay. So all these normative principles are very useful for critical study of a given scheme, and it can be carried out with the help of these principles. So if you want to do any critical study of any library classification scheme, for say for example DDC, if you want to learn, means if you want to critically do the study, then all these normative principles, based on these normative principles you can study the different type of or any type of schemes. Okay. The second one is the principles can be very helpful for the purpose of comparing different scheme of classification. So based on these normative principles, you can also compare what are the different schemes, how the different schemes are there, what will be their characteristics, what will be their structuring. Okay, so based on this, you can easily compare the different type of classification schemes. And The third one is interpretation of the rules and the schedule of a scheme can be done with their help. So based on the rule, if you know the rule, then only you can interpret properly. Okay. And you can follow all the rules like normative principles in library classification. So this can provide a guidance to the classifier in day-to-day work of the classification. So this, with the help of these principles, you can easily find out what are the day-to-day work of any library classification. And these principles also helpful in developing a theory and also provide a scientific base to the theory. So for that, normative principles are very important. And Ranganathan has adopted a convention regarding the use of the word like laws, canons, and principles. In the next slide, we can see that how these laws, canons, and principles are there. And all these normative principles used in particular context, and he has also postulated this work for working different levels. So what are the different levels of these normative principles? So we can see it in the next slide. So these are the kinds and levels for normative principles you can see here in this particular slide. So you can see that the basic process of thinking, basic laws. Okay. So basic laws is used at the levels of basic process of thinking. So once it is the process of thinking, then we are more concerned with the basic laws. Then once we go to the fundamental laws, so basic law are laws which can be applied to any science, means any subject. Okay. Or in general we can apply it, because that is the basic process of thinking, and based on that we can implement it in the any subject or in any general areas. Then once we talk about the fundamental laws, so fundamental laws of library science. So like 5 laws of library science are there, which Dr. S.R. Raghunathan has initiated. So that laws are related with the library science. Okay. And that is called as the fundamental law, which are specific discipline based. Okay. And the canon we have seen, that is also part of the laws. Okay. And it is used in the context of division of the first order of the discipline of library science, and such as, for example, we are using this canon words for classification, that is canon for classification, canon of cataloging also we can say. Then book selection, and for many purpose we are using these canons. So once the basic law, it is a broad term. Fundamental law is related with the any subject that we are taking as an example, library science. Then canon, so under library science, library classification is there. So this is a sub-discipline. So canon is used when the any discipline, sub-discipline laws has to be enumerated. So we can use the word canon. Then the next one is the term principles. So principles we can apply it in the context of division of the second or later order of library science, such as the helpful sequence in the array and the facet sequence. Okay. So here we are using it. We can also see in the helpful sequence in among the facet and among the array also. And that will be in the next lecture. We can cover it. What is the principles of helpful sequence? So when we use the word principles, then principles can be used to show the further sub-subject of this classification. So in within classification, there are many canons, and within canons also, like the canon of array is there. So under canon of array, there are many helpful principles are there. So it can be also there. So we have to see that. So there are many levels. All these normative principles is the broader term, and under these normative principles, you can see the basic laws, fundamental laws, and the canons, principles, and postulates. So postulates, it is also working of classifying. So postulates is called when we use at the levels of the working of classification, then we can say that postulates. Okay. So all these are the technical terms. You have to understand it and you have to make the difference. So basic law, which are the broader term, Once we go to the specific subject, for example, library science, then we use a fundamental laws. Then once we go under library science classification, cataloging is there. So once you take that principles or any laws, then it is called as a class canons. So we can say that canon of classification, canon of cataloging. And principles, once it is go into this particular subject, then it will called as a principles, and it will be used at the levels of helpful sequence in among the facets and among the array. We have seen what is facet and what is array. And postulates, once we go into the depth of this subject, then we can use that work of classifying is the postulates. Okay. So here, Ranganathan has recognized these basic laws, and that are there are many laws that are laws of classification, means laws of interpretation. Law of impartiality is there, then law of symmetry is there, then law of parsimony is there, and the law of local variation is there, and the law of osmosis are there. Okay, so there are Ranganathan has identified these basic laws which can be applied to any subject or which can be applied in general. Okay, so let us see one by one what are these laws are. Okay, so these all these basic law governing the process of thinking are normally involved only when two laws uh, are overlapped. Okay, like for example library science or canons of classification, if it leads to the conflicting or different equal valid reason, then we can use all this law. So something is happened or something there is a situation of conflict, then we can use all these basic laws. Okay, so suppose some canons of library classification is not means we can say some conflict is there, like what to do in the classification, then you can use all these basic law. So there, if there is a conflict in between the laws, then you can use all such general laws. So law of interpretation, law of impartiality, law of symmetry, law of parsimony, law of local variation, and the law of osmosis are there. So let us see one by one what are these laws. Okay. So law of interpretation. So according to the Ranganathan, the canons, principle, postulates, and the rule of classification scheme or the cataloging code taken together can be considered as the legal document, and which can we can interpret and modify it. Okay, so whatever rules are there, it may be the canons or it may be the principles, we have to interpret properly. We have to means use as a legal document for our subject, or even means law of interpretation, once we take as a general principle, then we can see that whatever the laws are there, like Nyay Kosh is the general Nyay Kosh is there. Okay, and there they have identified the 1008 rules, so that we have to interpret it. If something is happened with the canons or something happened with the laws, or if there is a conflict, then we have to use all these NICOSH laws, that is 100 NICOSH laws are there. And once we take it for the library science, so whatever canons or whatever documents are there, we have to consider it as the legal document. And we can interpret and modify this based on this legal document. And with the course of time, there may be a conflict between one rule and the other, which can be resolved with the aid of the law of interpretation. So if there is a conflict in within one or two rules, then we can use all this law of interpretation. So law of interpretation is saying that whatever rules, whatever principles or canon, we have to use it once the conflict situation will be created. And he also suggested, means Dr. S.R. Ranganathan has suggested to scrutinize and find out the weakness of the cataloging code or even in the classification scheme. And we have to revise it based on the interpretation and based on the various rules or law. We can revise it, this one. Okay, so law of interpretation is, in short, it is saying that whatever rules are there, whatever canons or whatever postulates are there, we have to use it and we have to interpret it once if it is the conflicting situation in any canons or in any principles. So it is simple law of interpretation. Okay. Then the next law is law of impartiality. So law of impartiality is saying that if between two or more claimants in case of the joint authorship in cataloging, now we have not started your cataloging. I think Dr. Preeti madam has started your cataloging. So for that, what it indicates, if the joint authorship is there, then to whom we have to give the main entry. Okay, so that will be the conflict. So here you have to see that according to the law of impartiality, both joint authorship is there, so both sequence you can give it. So in cases of joint authorship, if you want to do the choice of the position among two facets of a subject in classification and the choice among the needs of different category of users, you should give the preference only on the sufficient ground and not based on the arbitraries. Okay, so whatever the law is saying that there should not be any impartiality with the two facet. Okay, so in cataloging, what happen if suppose joint author is there, so joint author first name will be for means for one author, then second name will be for the second author. So both the author has contributed equally, and why the first name and the second name, but whatever the joint authorship is there, based on that you have to see in cataloging, you can make the different entries, like main entry you can prepare and the added entry you can prepare it for the next author also. Okay, so in other words we can say that the law of impartiality directs that the sequence of facet in the different subject or the choice of the heading in case of joint authorship should be made in the arbitrary made in an arbitrary manner, and the sequence should be based on some guideline principles of a general nature and equally applicable to all subject and the heading. So whatever sequence are there, so first author is there, then second author is there, so you can equally change the sequence and then you can give the weightage to that particular sub author. Okay, if it is the joint authorship. So that law of partiality, impartiality is saying. Then that is why Dr. Ranganathan has also suggested the application of wall picture principles for facet sequence and the provision for equal weightage to the names of all author for the choice of the heading. So Dr. S.R. Ranganathan has also given the same law of impartiality. We should not do some partiality with the two facet. If the two facet is having the equal weightage, then what we have to do, we can we can change the sequence and then we can reverse it. Okay, so that law of impartiality is saying. So within the two facet we should not take one facet only, or we should not take the second facet only. One's author will be there, but second author will be also in the one place, means first position. Okay, so that is law of impartiality is saying. Then the next one, law of symmetry. Okay, so symmetry means the correct propositions or the balance or the equal weightage, and the law advocates for equal weightage to two entities in the entry. Okay, so symmetry means we have to give the correct positions, or we have to balance it. So whatever the equal weightage are there, like just we have seen that in the joint authorship both the authors are equal, so we have to change the sequence and then we can give the equal weightage also. So in the law of symmetry also, this principle that of two entities or situation which admit of being regarded as a symmetrical counterpart. So if it is the balanced one, then if one of them is given weightage in the same context, and the other two should be also given the weightage, corresponding weightage in the same context. Okay, so here we can take the example in case of joint authorship. Law of symmetry suggests that in the heading of the main entry you have to write the names of the both author. Okay, in the sequence, whatever sequence is given in the title page, So according to the sequence, you can use all, you can use the sequence, what whichever it occurs in the title page. Okay, so law of symmetry is very simple. It is suggested that the you have to give the equal weightage if there is a two facet in the sequence. So if there is a author sequence is there, then both the author you have to give the weightage. Okay, not only one author you have to give the weightage, but for both the author you can give the weightage. Then the next one, law of parsimony. So this law of parsimony literally means thrift or quality of being stinct or the using money and the other resources carefully. So whatever we have a resources, like we have a manpower, we have a material, we have a money, and we have a time. So we have to use it carefully. Otherwise, we should not waste it. So law of parsimony is saying whatever together property is there, or it may be in the terms of manpower, it may be in the terms of the material, money and time, we have to consider it. It is a very limited resources. Okay, so this law specifically suggests that when there is a reclassification, if we want to do for any library material, then we can't means reclassify all the collection. So for that you have to just whenever the new collection is coming, then you can reclassify it. Okay, and whenever the active collection is there, active collection means those collection which are having just a minute, those collection which are having circulated by many times or frequently it is circulated, then it is called as a active collection. Active collection means users are using it, that active collection. Okay, so if you want to reclassify, suppose if you have a 3 lakh collection in your library, and if you want to reclassify it, but there is no need to classify all the 3 lakhs collection. Okay, so whatever new collection is there, you can just reclassify. Whatever new collection is there according to new policy or according to the new editions, you can, or like for example, if you are using 19th edition of the DDC, and now 22nd edition, 23rd edition, if you are using it, then you can classify only those books that are coming new to the library. Okay, so there is no need to classify all the 3 lakhs books at once time. Okay, and after some time you can classify the active collection also. You can identify what are the active collection, and based on that you can use whatever resources you have in terms of manpower, material, and the money and the time. Then full and short description style in the catalog entries can we can also use. So instead of writing uh, many details or all the details, bibliographical details in the cataloging, you can use some short description style also. Then printed or handwritten catalogs, we can also see that if printed catalog is there, so means if the online catalog is there, then you don't have to use it, all these particular handwritten catalog. Okay, so there is a wastage of manpower and money also, and the material also. uh, then faceted classification scheme and the enumerative classification scheme, that we can learn in our next class when we learn the species of library classification. So in short, what this law of parsimony is saying, that if you have the limited material, or if you have the material like manpower, money and the time, then you have to use it carefully. All such type of resources you have to use it carefully, and you don't have to waste it. Okay, so these laws can be also used in the library classification or even the library cataloging also. So once there is a need to change the whole system, or reclassification or recataloging, then only you can recatalog it. And that too also you have to see that those are the active collection, you can change it. Those are the inactive collection, you don't have to change it. So it depends on what type of manpower you have, or what type of material or money or time you have. Okay, so this law of parsimony is saying, you we have to use the resources very tactfully and very carefully. We should not waste our resources of the libraries. Then the next law is law of local variation. Okay, so this law guides in the case of problem of local variation and directs towards the formation of special collection of documents separate from the general collection. Local means we should be taken broadly to refer as the geographical area. Okay, so local variation means once it is a geographical area based on any size or interest of the users, so we can take it as we can called as a local variation. So what this law of local variation is saying that whatever, suppose if you have a Marathi collection, then you can see that all Marathi collection, if your users are also from the Marathi background, or you can say that they are more interested in the Marathi books, then that you can keep it first, okay, in the row or in the racks. Then second type of literature you can like Hindi literature or English literature, you can keep it. Okay, so based on the local variation, if the geographical area also, for example, here the in Nagpur we have the Bhosle period history. Okay, so if you want to class, means if you want to arrange the history books and according to this law of local variation, then you can keep it according to the period. Like here in the Nagpur Bhosle history is there, or Shivaji Maharaj history is there, so that you can keep it first and then you can keep it another period history. Okay, and even in the colon classification, this law of local variation can be used, because the 2 digits is used for the mother country and 3 digits for the favored country, and this helps in both shortening of class numbers and giving priority in the shelf arrangement. But you may not be getting this point, because once you see the colon classification, then only by seeing it you can easily understand it. Okay, so what this law of local variation is saying that if any local according to the geographical area, according to the size, according to the interest of the users, if some local collection is there, you can keep it separately and you can keep the general collection separately. Okay, so just you can remind this, means you can just make that local variation means according to geographical area, according to the interest of the users, and according to the we can say that the size of the library also, you can see the local variation also. So once we can also use this local variation law in the cataloging. Okay, so law of local variation governs the entry elements, rendering of personal name, then arrangement of entries, then language code, and the local code of each library should be different. It will be based on the local law of local variation. Then the next law, I think 2 3 minutes are left, but we have to cover it. Law of osmosis. Osmosis means the process of gradual or unconscious assimilation of ideas and the knowledge. Okay. So this law is stated that if there is a change in the cataloging code or in the scheme of classification as advocated by the canon of context, the library should, just we have taken the example also, so if there is a need to change it, our classification scheme, our cataloging scheme, and then you can change it. So what this law of local variation means, local law of osmosis is saying, whenever you want to use, then you can start it gradually. You can start it with the help, means gradually move to the old collection which is known to be in much use and so on, then you can start it. Okay, so this approach will be also practicable and can be done without affecting the budget and the routine service of the library, and it will be also the cost effective. So according to the law of osmosis, once you want to change or rearrange your library or reclassify your library or re-catalog your library, then you can see that how the process we can adopt it. Okay. So the process you have to means don't change the whole collection. You can start the step by steps whatever new collections is there, you can change it, and whatever old collections are there, then gradually you can move to the old collection, and then you can catalog and then reclassify it. Okay. So in conclusion, we can say that Ranganathan theory is based on the normative principles, and with this theory, he has elaborately described about the principles, law, canon, and which can be used to determine a subject and classify them. He has succeeded in providing a scientific basis and firm footing to the theories of library classification, and as a result he was able to systematize the study and practice of classification. So all these laws and the theories are very useful, even normative principles and the basic laws are very useful, and Ranganathan has used all these principles for devising the library classification scheme, that is colon classification. Okay. So this we have finished it on time, and only less minutes are there, so we can keep the presenting and don't rejoin it, because for today this will be sufficient, and tomorrow we can take it the another portion. So first let me just take your attendance. Anybody can take the attendance because only time is very short.